Look at that. It's above freezing, believe it or not. And it's melting. Spring's finally trying to work its way here. It's been a long winter. And oh, just drip away, please drip away. See the house all let go. First warm day. All that kind of drops off the last 3 feet of the house there. Crashes down below. So, I was having a problem with ice dams. And what happens is, in the garage, not in the house. If you heat the garage up, the heat goes to the attic. The ice and snow run down. Step up here. And as you can see, still about 3 feet of snow, probably in the highest center of that. So the water kind of comes down to where it's cold, freezes again. Now it has to go uphill and get over, and instead it'll run down the inside of the wall and blow out the walls. I don't know if you can see at the very end there. See if we can come in on that. So that causes water to run down inside the building. Not very good for it. But enough of my complaining. Anyway, so I've been in my winter depression trying to get over it, and it's a nice day out, so I figured today would be a good day to get back on the trike. It's probably been a good 3 weeks or a month since I worked on this thing or did a video on it. So I'm gonna try and rectify that today, and we'll shoot some film and see if we can get something done. And before I go any further, I want to give a shout out to George, the Shade Tree Fix-It Man. He was watching the last video I was making on it, and he saw that I had these just these store-bought nuts on top of the Springer because it was missing some parts, and he says, I have some I forget what these are called, acorn nuts, covers that go on those if you want them. So he ended up mailing them to me. I won't push them down all the way, but they're perfect. Kind of clean up that front end really nice. So I appreciate that, George. That's awesome. And there's 2 more too. It was like a package of 4, so there may be something else I can use them on. Possibly that guy. All right. So the last we left off on this thing was trying to figure out, I got the Springer front end working, I got the fender working, rough idea where the headlight's gonna go, that kind of thing. So it was headlight, fender, brakes, and speedometer need to be set up on this added on front end. So the last problem I was having was, if you were to go apply the brakes, something has to stop the brake drum, this is the brake drum, from spinning when you apply it. And generally they have an arm that goes to somewhere on the frame, or it kind of, like on the old wheel, it had a keeper in the center of it that stopped it from doing that. So the way this front end kind of rocks and rolls, it has to be something that follows the brake drum dead nuts, you know, which will be somewhere on this triangle here. Has to kind of follow that rocker, and because you can't have the brake drum moving at a different rate than this is, because if it's going to twist all the time, none of this can twist, let's put it that way. All this has to stay in a straight line. So wherever you mount this brake drum when the front suspension's moving, it has to follow it right on the money. And I was going to try coming off the back right here off of this post somewhere. That really wasn't looking too good as far as trying to come up with some kind of mount that still allowed me to run the brake cable at a normal direction. Because this is where the actual mount is. This post right here is where you're supposed to support it. So that would have been over there. And then my brake cable would have been up here facing the wrong direction. So, as you can see, that's where the brake lever cable goes, straight up, and the boss is under here. Right there. And what I decided to do was took some more brass and turned them down and hollowed out the inside, so running just a long bolt right through it, and then came with a keeper coming down and then another one returning somewhat. I'm going to clean these up when I take them apart, but I want to get the mechanical structure of it kind correct first. And I also took this one and I put the 4-jaw chuck in the lathe. That allows you to move a piece off center when you're trying to drill it. So there's a hole drilled in this, but it's off center. So if you rotate this, it'll get tighter or looser, depending on where you kind of put it. It's an eccentric or a cam. And that allows me to pinch on that, so wherever the suspension's moving, the brake drum just kind of follows right with it. It doesn't get any twisting action to it. So that should fix that problem. And again, if I ever change the wheel or decide to do anything, I didn't drill another hole into this or chop this up in any fashion. So that would be good for that. Now I got to look into, I'm figuring, I don't know if I want to continue with the brake cable or the speedometer cable setup. The speedo, this is the old drive off of the disc brake front wheel, and if you notice, it's got a totally different style of keeper on it than what's going to be on the wheel. The one that's on the wheel, this is the part that goes into the back of the speedometer, threads on. Well, that's what would go on the wheel right there, larger. So somehow I got to get the old style speedometer to match to that style of drive. So I either need another speedometer and another cable that match, or try making that fit the wheel, and then this will automatically fit the speedometer I already have. So I'm going to take that apart probably and see if there's any, first see if that cable even just fits the same kind of square. How square the drive is. So see if that's even the same that's on that wheel. If it is, I may try making some kind of like castle nut or some kind of support for that to lock onto those threads. So when I figure out what I'm doing, I will turn you right back on and see if we can get back on this sucker and get it ready to rock and roll, because summer's coming. Alright, so I cut off half of that, the pod there that the tack in the speedometer was in. The tack was never hooked on anything anyway, and that was also cable driven. So it's not like I could plug it into the motor and actually use it. So I cut that off, and the bezel, get myself some bearings on the size of what I'm going to be working with. I'm kind of, at first I was going to go put it in here, and I like it there, but the only problem is that cable is not very free and flexible like a brake cable would be. So I have a feeling that the handlebars twisting back and forth with the cable trying to run to, and then the cable having to swing so far, it's not going to hold up. So it's probably going to have to go in that location and come off of these two holes, be able to utilize these holes, and I'll make a mount that comes up. And the problem is, of course, I chopped the hole in the side of it. So I might take the rest of that bezel and cut a piece out and try to patch it together so it looks like it's supposed to be by itself. And it does spin the right way, so when this is turning, I'll shove a screwdriver in there, but when the wheels turn in the right direction, if I spin that cable that direction, it makes the speedometer work correctly. And people were talking in the past, why didn't you flip the wheel over so that your brake assembly is on the other side for the levers and all? That's the reason why, because my speedometer won't work. It'd be spinning in the wrong direction. Now, my problem that I have now, other than the fact that I don't have a cap with threads on it to attach to the wheel, is this square shaft is also too small. So I may end up having to get another cable anyway, or my only other thought is possibly I could take some solder and build that up to the size that's inside the wheel, and then kind of grind it flat to get the drive, and then still have to come up with a some sort of cap to thread over that. So I may ponder that for a little bit. I may go look, and there's a Yamaha Virago. Yamaha? Yeah. 1100 that's in the garage over there. I may go look at see what the cable is on that, and I may just go steal that for now. If it's the correct one, I'll just order another one to replace that one. And so with that, I may start looking into the brake side of things and see what I want to do. And hopefully I just keep picking away, and finally everything will kind of settle down to where their final homes are, you know. So on with the show. Alright, so I figure I got to get my controls on the handlebars, so my handlebars have to be modified to get them to fit. So the original ones are up in the vise there. You can kind of see one end's been cut off of it, and they're close. There's probably about 60 thou you got to knock off, 50 thou, something like that. So I cut off what I needed for my controls. There you go. And then I stuck the rest in the lathe, and it probably goes in about 3/4 of an inch in here, and drove it up into the inside of that. And so now I can I gotta do the other side too, but get my levers on, and then I can figure out how I want to run the brake cables and stuff. And it had to be done anyway. See if I can get it out of there. There you go. Yeah, so that kind of gives you the idea. And there's plenty of meat still on them. Fairly thick. This guy was really thick. That one is okay, but should be fine. So I'm also probably going to knock about 2 inches out of the center, kind of kick them in a little bit more too. But for now, I'm going to get these in place and get my controls on, and then start running some stuff and see what I need to do for my brake cable setup. Oh yeah, that's a lovely thing. Go away. Yard's getting to be a little on the flooded side. That's alright. As long as it doesn't creep into the garage, just trying to climb up the doorway here. So, handlebars are all kind of mocked up. They are not welded. I didn't weld anything yet, just to give me some final adjustment. But you tap them in with a hammer, they stay pretty good where they are. Left the grip off of this side, but that's the correct width. And this is about that much of an air gap. I figure it'd give me some space to weld on both sides. And then what I think I'll do is I'll probably take a couple of black O-rings and slip them up first to kind of hide this area. And then you won't tell any difference. It'll just look like fat bars with controls on it. And this is the brake lever that I got at the one of my local motorcycle shops. It was a used one off a, I don't know what it's off of, probably some kind of Jap bike. But what I needed was something that had a brake light switch on it, and look at those two little tongs right there. That's what that does, so that when I hit the front brakes, my brake lights come on. So New Hampshire does have a inspection, and you must run a front brake, and it must also have a brake light on it, and speedometer and all the other pieces that go. The cable is kind of long. There's really no good, the cables always look ugly. I don't know any other way around. Speedo cables and clutch cables and throttle cables, there's the way they come out doesn't always follow a handlebar, so you can't really kind of tack them down to the handlebar. That one's got some length to it, kind of zigzags across and then comes down, and will mount at the correct location, so it actually will work okay. I pulled the brake arm off and clicked it one more degree, and it gave me the right throw for it. I can't get the top one back on yet because the fork's in the way, but again, the whole thing's got to come apart, so I'm not that concerned about that. Speedo, I think I'm going to try ordering a cable instead of trying to make that one work, just because, and maybe I'll try to make it work better on the other side. I don't think they're terribly expensive anyway. And it was when we were trying to figure out what that front wheel was, I believe we looked it up. It was early, I want to say it was Honda front wheel, and a lot of them used that same Speedo on it. So I remember I had looked up cables in the past, so I think for 15-20 bucks I could probably get one shipped to me from eBay, and then I'll bracket that one up top there. It feels comfortable. I pushed them forward a little bit. I sat on the seat where the handlebars are. And again, I'm going to squish them up a little bit. So I got directionals to deal with yet. And I could probably make a mount for that Speedo. The cable's not going to come out any other different area than that. So even if I change the cable, that shouldn't make much of a difference. I can probably start putting some stuff back together. I got to take it apart, paint all the black pieces on the front end. I got to change the front tire around, put a tube in it, from the other wheel. Free up the brakes. Right now you pull the brakes, they pull, and then they just stay there. The spring-loaded part of it doesn't come back, so I got to take them apart and just kind of clean up where the bushings are. And I'm sure there's probably some kind of return spring in there that's might need help too. And then from the behind the wheel, should look pretty good too. I'm not crazy about the speedometer, but it's got to be on there somewhere, and I don't want to kick it to one side, so you got to center it. That's where it's going to be centered. And then, you know, this is the original control here that runs your horn, your directionals, and your high and low beam switch. And then down below is this is your key and your start, and this was your headlights on and off. Parking lights, headlights, and off are on those switches. So I'm gonna go jump on something. Not quite sure what yet, but maybe the directionals. Maybe I'll try figuring out where they're gonna go and what I'm gonna use for directionals too. So when I figure that out, I'll turn you right back on. Alright, so I was chasing front directionals, and I got just like this miscellaneous kind of pile of lights that I have, and I think I found like 2 of them that were close. It was, where'd they go? Might have been these 2. These 2. But they're huge, you know. That's big. So I thought about it. I had only one of these. This is what's on my TW200. They're a smaller profile. They got like little rubber flexible ends on them so they take a bump. So for now I just decided to go with what was on it, which was these really little tiny guys. But they worked, and I always got a sticker with them. So I kind of, you know, if you put those too big, you know, the backlight's gonna get you. Hold on one sec. Let's close the door. Look at that. Look at that water melting off that garage. All right. So those guys, yeah, they're almost not there. They're so small, but you know, just enough to get a sticker. And if I put those 2 big ones on each side of it, they're just gonna look fugly, you know. So away they go. What I decided to use was I ran to Home Depot. These guys are the brackets for your plumbing. When you hang your plumbing or conduit, that's what you would use, and they're just like a cast steel. So I'll take those and I'll wire wheel them down and probably paint them black, and probably paint the brackets black just so it all kind of disappears, but the light itself. And I just took some tire tube rubber and wrapped it around the suspension so that it can kind of take that gap up. I had a choice of, I think one was 3/4 and one was 1 inch, but this is 1 inch diameter, but they're going by 1 inch plumbing, which is the ID, not the OD. So it's, you know, like probably like 1 1/4 or so. So that should work, and that rubber's not gonna hurt anything. Probably give it a little bit of cushion anyway. Only thing I might need to do is make a ground jumper go into it, because I won't get ground across that. But that's where all the pieces are going. Yeah, I'm kind of liking it. I think even when I kind of kick the handlebars in a little bit, they won't quite look as goofy. And as usual, if there's anything I don't like in the future, I could always change it. Not that I ever do, but that's gonna be it. So I'm probably gonna wrap it up here. I want to take a ride to the junkyard, and I haven't been there in a while, and take a pick around there, see if anything new kind of showed up. The bike's sitting downhill on the lift. It's a little bit more raked than that, but you get the idea. Alright guys, on that note, I'm going to go shut her down, and hopefully tomorrow afternoon I can pick back up on this and start disassembling it, and I can start painting some of those pieces, and we can put it all back together like it's supposed to. I got to paint the wheelie bars. This is on backwards. I got to flip it around. It was a 50-50 shot which way the kick went, but I went the wrong way. It's in your gut when you're trying to sit on it. All right, that's it. Again, thanks for watching, comment, and subscribe. Take care.